We are now in hour number 2, which means one thing. Means we go to Huntsville, Alabama, and we catch up with the man who's in charge at Hunt City. Friend of the network, friend of the show.
Good morning, John. How are you?
Morning, Jack. Jack Collison now hanging out with us. And first and foremost, how many cups of coffee have you had already this morning?
Yeah, not enough. Put it that we've been running around like crazy getting set up. But it's great. We're training over at the stadium today, and it's good. It builds that excitement, especially going into such a big weekend as well. So ready to rock and roll, my man.
All right. So let's go ahead and lay it all out. What has it been like so far? I mean, right now, last time we talked was early in the season, and we got to kind of see what life has been like for you, starting with the first 7 on the road, then coming to Joe Davis and kind of, getting the engine turned over there. You're in a playoff spot right now, locked in the same number of points north of the playoff bar with Chicago Fire, but you've got the tiebreaker right now. How does it feel with only a couple of matches to go in the season to be in the playoff picture?
Yeah, I mean, let's have no wins after the first 7 was obviously quite a difficult spot to be in. But, I mean, I said all along, I always felt like we were close. And I must say, fair play to the players and the staff for kind of sticking with us and trusting the process. And then probably since then, we've been one of the probably top 3 or 4 form teams in the entire league. In terms of results, we've had some really, really positive games at home in particular. We've put in some really good performances. And I think just by breaking it down, I know it's very cliche, but just focusing on the process and sticking to what we believe in has been a real positive for us. And now 3 games to go, a little bit of a cushion, but it's so tight, and all the teams around us are obviously all fighting and pushing for the playoffs. But I mean, you would have gave us this after 7 games, we'd have bit your hand off. 2 home games, 1 away to a team in and around us, and a little bit of a cushion with an opportunity to try and get in the dance at the end of the year.
What has it been like for you in Huntsville there? And I mean, do you have to are you recognized in the stores when you're going shopping with the boss and everybody else? Do you have to hand out index cards knowing the questions?
Yeah.
The autograph on them? What's it been like?
No, do you know what? It's been incredible down here, John. The community have really taken to the team. I mean, I was getting a bit of a feeling when I come down and the stadium was being built and was getting introduced around and that. But I mean, since the stadium's opened and the home games, you can just feel the energy around the town. The guys have really taken to the team, and in return, the team put in some really good performances. But don't get me wrong, there's been some bad times and some bad moments, and I must say the fans have been very consistent. And I think it does certainly give us an edge when there's them tight games, especially with the last 10, 15 minutes to go, where it's on a knife edge and the boys are getting tired. To have 4,500, 5,000 people behind you driving you on is a massive thing. So as I said, with 2 games to go at home out of our last 3, and obviously a massive one against Atlanta United this weekend, we're in a really good spot and we're happy.
No doubt about it. And, of course, we couldn't let this go. Jarrett Smith now joining
There he is.
hour number 2. Jarrett with Jack and me. Go ahead, Jarrett.
Hey, Coach. Good to talk to you again. It's been really fun watching y'all this year, especially with the stretch of road games to start the year, fighting through that and coming in to a really good stretch at the end of the season. What's been, for you personally, what's been the biggest thing for your growth as a coach over the last year since we really last talked?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm not sure if it was a bit of naivety or maybe just a bit of youthfulness still within me. Coming in, probably not, I would say maybe potentially underestimating how much work goes into building an entire new team, a new squad, going into a new stadium, training ground, and just understanding there was a lot of small little issues that I think have big knock-on effects. And then obviously being on the road for the first 7 as well. There's not many direct flights out of Huntsville, so some of the travel was quite interesting.
No direct flights out of Huntsville?
There's only about 4 places we can go to on a direct flight. So, yeah, quite often long layovers and things like that. But I think the biggest thing, or I'd say the biggest 2 things was really trusting in what we believed in, and not coming too far away from that, not completely ripping up the the script and starting all over again, believing that we were close and just knowing if we could improve slightly, we'd get the results. And we've really stuck to our guns this year, and I'm really proud of the guys and thankful for their buy-in and openness to kind of try to play the way we want to try and play. And then the second thing, I mentioned it earlier, I had a good chat with the GM here, Mike Jacobs, and he said, look, we're not worried, we're not stressed. He said, just focus on the process, focus on what you can control day in, day out. And as long as the boys are doing that, you won't be far away when it really matters. And that's been a big message throughout. We didn't look at the league table for probably 3 or 4 months. And obviously it looks a little bit brighter now when we look at it, but we'd certainly like to get over the line and kind of finish off the job. But yeah, I think overcoming small challenges earlier in the season. And as I said, the biggest thing for me was just trying to be consistent. And don't get me wrong, we got stuff wrong at the start. We certainly had some difficult moments, but just that consistency and that willingness to bring it every day has been a big part of the turnaround, I'd say.
How do you not look at the standings for a couple of months? I mean, it sounds like a difficult task, especially with social media and everyone around you sitting there going, hey, you guys did X, Y, or Z. How difficult is it not to look at standings and papers and not get locked into that and just stick to your philosophy, knowing it's going to work in the end?
Yeah, I think having a good support group around us, a real good, strong set of staff members.
They hide the newspapers, right?
Yeah, honestly, the fans in the community were so supportive, despite the lack of results early on, which gives you confidence. And obviously support from the hierarchy above. Gary Smith, fantastic. Mike Jacobs, fantastic. And it just gives you that belief in what you're doing. And I mean, even till last week where we got spanked by New England, we hadn't lost a game all year by more than 1 goal. So knowing that we were kind of in every game and very close to what we wanted to achieve just sort of keeps you going and keeps you pushing along. And look, the boys have been fantastic. I must say, massive credit to them. They really do commit. They bring it every day. It's difficult for some of them because not playing on a weekend, training all week, and being in and out of the team. There's obviously a lot of rotation and movement that happens sometimes. But as a group, I couldn't be happier and prouder of them. And I'm really, really hoping that we've got enough to get them in the dance at the end of the year, because their work ethic, their humility, their belief in what we're trying to do has been great this year. So I'm just really proud and really pleased of them.
Halftime with Jack Collison at Hunt City. Jarrett, go for it.
We know Nicky Law was part of the on the field activities early in the season, shifting more into a coaching role. How much is it to help to be able to communicate with a guy like him, in that you are not far removed from playing yourself and being able to kind of relate to him in that transitional moment to kind of help make it easier for him?
Yeah, I mean, we were very fortunate. Nicky and I had a fantastic relationship, and part of our job here as well is not only trying to develop the players and push them on into bigger and better and better opportunities. It's the same with the staff. We talk quite openly about us being a real sort of developmental sort of team. And obviously for Nicky, not only was he one of the best players in the USL last year, and certainly at the start of the year for us, he's just a wonderful human. And for me and the staff, it was great to have someone to bridge the gap in terms of constant messages. The same messages come in all the time, not only from us guys, but also with Nicky and John Berner as well, who's been the goalkeeper coach, player coach. And I think it's certainly helped us sort of stay consistent with what we're trying to do. And obviously with Nicky, he's made such a good impression at Tampa last year. They wanted to give him the opportunity to come back and lead them now. And I actually went down on the weekend to watch him play Hartford. We had a couple of days off, so it was great to get down there and spend some time with him and kind of catch up and see how he's doing. But we're really proud of playing a small part in his journey as well. And if we can do that along the way whilst trying to win some games, then we feel like we're doing a good job.
You mentioned the conversations that you have with folks like Gary and Mike Jacobs. Question from Kefsey in the Twitch pitch: how often are there conversations with the Nashville staff?
Yeah, good question. I mean, Gary's been great. Honestly, we spent the first week as an entire staff at Huntsville away with the first team. So in terms of trying to build that bridge and that alignment and understanding obviously how the first team work and getting a grip of Gary's expectations, because ultimately he's choosing the team and he's going to be the one who's kind of selecting our players who he feels are ready to come up. So I think having that open-ended conversation with him is great. As I said, the support from above with Mike Jacobs, with John Ingram, the owner, Ian Eyre, they've come to away games. They come to Crown Legacy. Mike turned up in New York, and they're regular down to our games here, even though we're an hour and a half away, which I think shows, one, they're invested, and two, is a great sign for these boys that, look, there's eyes on them the entire time. We tell them, but to actually physically see these people there who are going to be deciding their futures is great. So look, there's things we need to improve on and things we haven't got right this year, obviously being a standalone team an hour and a half away. But in terms of that constant communication, that's been consistent right throughout the year. And obviously it makes my job a hell of a lot easier.
Jared, go for it.
In looking at some of the guys that you had who were really, I guess the thing that sticks out to me is from the game from Atlanta, where you go down and then come storming back and just kind of bludgeon everybody for the last 20 minutes in that game. One of the things we talked about last year when you were here was, guys learning how to hate losing and learning how to finish things off. How has that been this year with a lot of young players, about getting them into that mindset of, being ruthless and finishing things off?
Yeah, that's a constant word we use, that ruthlessness and just being relentless. And I think you saw a lot of it when we were at Atlanta, just trying to be, no matter who we're playing, almost with them young players, using that youthfulness and that fearlessness that they bring every single week. And I think what you get with young players is inconsistency, and you can see even within games, really good for 20 minutes. I mean, we played a game at home against New York and 3-0 up at halftime, and we lost 4-3. But when they do get it right, it's so fun to watch. And we've had periods this year. We played Orlando here, ended up winning 6-2, scored 3 or 4 in the second half. Same against St. Louis, 3 goals in the second half. Same against Philadelphia, 3 goals in the second half. So when we do get it right and the attacking players we have got at our disposal do click, they're just so fun to watch. And they all bring something different to the party. Jonathan Bolaños, for example, has got world-class pace. Nebi Perry, who played in the away game and come on and made a real big difference, is just sensational when he's on form. Kemi Amici, I laugh and joke with him. I said, Kemi, you're the only shirt I'm going to buy in the last 25 years, other than Messi's. I said, you're the only shirt that I'd ever purchased. Because for me, he just embodies football and what it's about. It's fun when he plays. He's extremely talented, and he cares. Like, he's got a proper love and passion for the game. So for me to get an opportunity to work with players like this and kind of help guide them and be a part of hopefully them guys making the next step is just a real thankful position to be in.
2 more questions, because I know you got to get ready for practice. 1, all right, what's study hall been like getting ready for the twos this weekend?
Yeah, no, I've been doing a little bit of digging, been trying to get into them, but they've been very tight-lipped down there. But look, they've been similar to us, I think. When they've got it right, they've been fantastic. Obviously struggled a lot on the road this year, which has probably been the downfall, because the home form's been pretty good. And I think the bonus and the benefit I've got is obviously knowing a big bulk of their players inside out. So being aware of the dangers that we're potentially going to face. Obviously, Nick Firmino, I was a big part of bringing him to the club and signing him. So it's been incredible to see him have a real breakout year this year. Luke Brennan, for me, is probably still one of the most dangerous direct wingers in the league, who can turn a game within seconds. So obviously being aware of that. But on the flip side, it's trying to find them small little wins and where we can really sort of hurt Atlanta and try and enforce our game. So it's actually set up to be a really good game. So hopefully it brings some goals and puts a few smiles on some people's faces.
All right, and then last question comes from Jason Nix. How do you feel about your Hammers in the top 4, and will they be there at the end of the season?
I know. I said I haven't looked at our league table for a few months in between the season, but I can't stop looking at the Premier League at the moment. It's great, isn't it? Just before City played, they were top for 24 hours, I think, 2 weekends on the bounce. So no, they've been phenomenal. I must admit, looking at the fixtures at the start of the year, when you got Chelsea, Brighton away, Two real tough ones coming up next. There's always a bit of a worry, but I mean, 10 points out of the first four, some return, and great to see the new signings having such a big impact as well.
My friend, it's always great to catch up with you. Thanks for parachuting in before practice. Jason will be up there this weekend, and
brilliant.
Really looking forward to a great matchup with you and the Twos this weekend, 7 o'clock Eastern time, Sunday night. Jack Collison, head coach, Huntsville City Football Club.
Thanks, John. Cheers, Jarrett.
Be good, y'all.
Cheers, Jack.
Take care.
Man.
That's Jack Collison. Jack Collison hanging out with us.